Hey Wellness Warrior, I'm Dr. Zyrowski and I love one meal a day. It works excellent for burning belly fat, it works excellent for taking the guesswork out of eating healthy, and what we're going to talk about today is what to eat on one meal a day so that you can reap the benefits starting today. One meal a day has so many amazing benefits. The fact is that most people approach one meal a day because they are trying to lose fat and they heard that it is the extreme fat loss solution where you can lose fat in a very short period of time and do it in a healthy way. Well, there's a lot of truth to that, but the fact is one meal a day offers so much more than that. One of the things that one meal a day does so well is it helps get you healthy. And a nice byproduct of getting healthy, you know what that is? That's actually fat loss, because we know that a healthy body is not maintaining an excessive amount of fat, because that is very dangerous to our overall health as we age. Now, a couple of the things that one meal a day will accomplish for you is it's going to help improve your gut health. It's going to drive down inflammation. It's going to lower your blood sugar levels, your insulin levels, and it's going to allow you to tap into burning fat. Now, one of the things I think is so cool about one meal a day and fasting in general is that it maintains muscle mass. So when you are fasting, your body spares the muscle and it focuses specifically on burning that fat for energy, which is really cool because at the end of the day, we're all trying to maintain lean muscle mass, stay strong and healthy, but also lose the fat, the stuff that's making us unhealthy. So it's a good solution for losing weight over time. Now, many of the things that people will ask me is, well, how many calories are we supposed to eat? How often should I do this? What foods am I supposed to consume while doing this? Well, we're going to talk about all of that, so stick around to the end so that I can give you every detail that you need to successfully start using one meal a day today. So how many calories do you need to eat? Now, this is an important question because when you're doing one meal a day, you have to remember that this is not a calorie restriction plan. This is a plan where you're going to take all of your meals and eat it within 2 hours every day, okay? So that means you're gonna fast for 22 hours and eat all your meals within a 2-hour period. Now, when you're consuming that amount of food in that 2-hour period, what you want to do is make sure you're consuming the right amount of food, okay? So how many calories do I need, Dr. Zyrowski? Just tell me. Well, the fact is that's based on you. It's based on your gender. It's based on your physical activity. Are you exercising or are you not? It's also based on your age. And the fact is that these are important criteria in order to determine how many calories you should consume daily. Now, we want to make sure that we're consuming the correct amount. One of the biggest problems that actually happens when people start doing one meal a day is they start under-consuming calories. That's not healthy either. So we want to make sure that we're consuming the right amount, not too many, because you can actually still gain weight on one meal a day. This isn't something that's guaranteed to cause fat loss. You certainly could still gain weight if you're over consuming, but if you're under consuming, you also could put yourself in a position where you're getting fatigued all the time and you're even like just putting some harm into your metabolism. Okay, so if you do this correctly, it works wonders. But what I want to emphasize to you is that you figuring out your calories is pretty simple. You just go online, get on a calculator, punch in some numbers, put in the details of you, your body, you as an individual, and then what you'll find is exactly how many calories you should consume. But then there's something called macros we have to take into consideration. You go, well, what are macros? First of all, macros are referring to the fat, protein, and carbohydrates that you're going to consume every single day. And then the question becomes, well, out of all of those calories you're going to eat, how much of each macro should the food be directed towards? So when we look at this, 50% should be directed towards fat, okay? 40% of your macros should be directed towards protein and 10% towards carbohydrates. And I've had people in the past say, Dr. Zyrowski, food isn't measured in percentages. Why are you putting that up there? Well, the fact is that we do have to figure out the number of calories we're going to consume, and then you're going to break that down using percentages in order to know how much of each macro you could consume. Now, when you look at your carb intake, your carbs shouldn't be coming from white sugar and white bread and pasta and a whole bunch of junk. Your carbs should mostly be coming from vegetables, okay, and healthier sources. So we want to make sure that we are not loading up on garbage here, and we want to make sure that even though we're consuming a small amount of carbohydrates, they're coming from the healthy sources. You know, when we look at protein should be, grass-fed beef. We want to look at good healthy chicken. We want to look at some good quality protein sources in order to make sure that we're feeding our body with the most nutritious food possible. And then fats. When we look at fats, we have olive oil, we have macadamia nuts, we have avocados. Lots of good healthy fats are important here. And when when you look at the macro breakdown that I gave you here, it really is directed towards the ketogenic diet, okay? And that's because a lot of people approach OMAD, 1 meal a day, and approach how they're going to eat on 1 meal a day according to wanting to lose fat, okay? This is something even bodybuilders or people who are looking to maintain good lean muscle, this is also how many of them are approaching this. And so what I gave you is a keto-based plan, okay? Now, you might say, look, I'm not interested in following a keto-based type of diet. So what you can do then is you still want to make sure that you're following a good healthy diet. It doesn't have to be keto, but what it can be is low carb and healthy. So what I recommend is if you don't want to follow these exact macros, you go and you bring your carbohydrates down to about 100 grams or less per day, okay? That's not keto. And the other thing that you do is you focus on getting good healthy proteins in, okay? So focus on proteins, focus on getting good healthy fats, but make sure that you keep your carbs below 100 grams or less, and you still are focused on eating whole foods. And here's why this is so important, okay? This is because you are only eating 7 meals the entire week, okay? Do you know what that means? That you have to get all your nutrition from 7 meals? That means that you need to be eating correctly, okay? It's amazing to me how often I can take somebody who's eating really healthy, and I've even been in this position myself, and you go and do nutrient testing on them, and it's amazing that you can still find so many nutrient deficiencies simply because it can be difficult to get proper nutrition even when trying to make good decisions. So we have to make sure that we're not filling up on a whole bunch of garbage here, because here's the bad news, okay? I have to share with you the bad news. If you want all the good news of what to eat and all the benefits of this, you also have to hear the bad news so that you're properly prepared as to how to navigate this whole thing. The bad news is that if you're loading up on sugar, you're loading up on carbs, and you're loading up on processed unhealthy foods, you are not going to last doing 1 meal a day. And in fact, 1 meal a day is very unhealthy for you at this point. You'll drive yourself into nutrient deficiencies. You'll be miserable because you're creating so many blood sugar spikes and so much instability in your metabolic hormones that you're going to be hungry all the time. You're not going to feel well. So this is something that we want to make sure that we are navigating correctly, okay? So don't fill up on junk foods. Here's the types of foods that research shows time and time again work very well for helping you stay satiated. When you're only eating 2 meals or 2 hours a day, just 1 meal, essentially what you're going to find is that you're going to find that you will have periods of time where you get a little bit hungry and you're trying to stay satiated during that whole fasted period. Well, what do? Okay? First of all, we get rid of the bad foods so that we're not creating those issues. That's key number 1. But when hunger starts to persist, there's a few things you can do. You can drink black coffee. That doesn't break your fast. You can use sparkling water. You can drink an electrolyte drink that is like no sugar, just plain old electrolytes. There's many things that you can do to curb your hunger. But most importantly, the one thing that you have to do is make sure that you're eating correctly. Otherwise, I mean, what are you doing this for? You know, we're trying to get healthy here. As I mentioned, 1 meal a day is a great strategy for getting healthy, but if we're not doing it correctly, we could be driving our health in the wrong direction. So when you eat those 7 meals, make sure they're good. Make sure that your macros are correct. I'm very concerned about nutrition when doing 1 meal a day. Now, how often should you do it? This is an important factor right here. Well, the reality is that some people like to do it every day, all right? And the reason for this is because it becomes very easy for someone who is trying to eat healthy to only have to focus on 1 meal. Imagine if you're trying to eat healthy and you're like, oh, what am I going to eat for breakfast? What am I going to eat for lunch? Oh, how about dinner? It becomes really confusing and it's frustrating. Whereas if you just go, I have 1 healthy meal that I have to focus on, then it is something that works out good for many people. It takes the confusion out of eating. But for me personally, I don't like to do it every day. I like to do it about 2 to 3 times a week, okay? And what I like to do in my own schedule, okay, and here's the thing that I want to impress upon you is that my schedule isn't your schedule. Yours isn't mine, okay? This is what's so important about creating sustainable habits in your lifestyle is making sure that you're doing what works for you and what fits for you. So what I like to do is I like to do 1 meal a day, 2 to 3 times a week. The other days I'm doing just regular 16 and 8 intermittent fasting, and I take 1 day and I take it completely off, okay? That means I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And the reason I do that is because what happens is that when you're switching up these different fasting patterns where you're going from like 16-8 intermittent fasting and 1 meal a day, and then even going to no intermittent fasting at all. You create metabolic confusion. Now, this metabolic confusion, what it does is allows you to get better results. I've seen it time and time again in patient care that when somebody's just doing 16-8 every single day of the week, weeks on end, months on end, or 1 meal a day, whatever the case is, the results aren't as good if they keep switching it up. So we want to create that metabolic confusion. So how often is a question that you have to answer for yourself? I like anywhere between 2 and 3 times a week, and then switching it up in between. Maybe you're a 5-day-a-week kind of person. Either way, when you look at following 1 meal a day and eating correctly and following this, it's so important that your plan is the one that's right for you, not your friends, me, or anybody else. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I think you'll really like this video next.